I cry as I write this. This feeling of dread is the kind that I've never quite felt. I'm only 17 and today my twin sister is not going to come home. My fingers are too twitchy and I can't see to type on the computer because the tears are making my glasses foggy. She's never even had a boyfriend. I don't even think she got to kiss a boy. She had her whole life in front of her and the only thing I can do for her now is help carry her casket when we go to bury her. She's made me laugh, made me cry. She looked so much like me, but the weird thing is that she was totally different. The good kind of different, though. We still had a lot in common, and we still fought like brothers and sisters do. What brings tears to my eyes is the uncertainty of how to go on. I know you probably think I'm too young to consider suicide, but you simply cannot understand the scope and power of how close my family is. Sophie and I would always go down to the creek to catch crayfish and look for pop bottles to return for candy. I'm not able to do that anymore. My parents just bought a huge farm barely a month ago, and within that short time, Sophie would cease to exist. My heart hurts for her. Is that a weird thing for me to say about my sister? What's truly killing me is that I never once told her I loved her, not even jokingly. Sure, she probably accepted that I did. I mean, I was family. I took part in her life, and we had a lot of great times. If only I had 10 minutes to wake her from what would be her eternal slumber, I could hold her and say, Sophie, let me take your place. I should have pushed you out of the way when that drunk ran the stop sign. I'm so sorry. I am more sorry than you will ever know. I stood there watching as he did it, and I did nothing. I watched you die. Had you gone quickly, it would have softened the blow. But of course you convulsed in agony. Every shudder, every gasp, and every groan that escaped your throat, I felt run down the length of my spine. I'll do my best not to dwell on how you left this world, though. I promise you at least that, Sophie. Maybe this will turn into some kind of diary. I really don't know. To be honest, I haven't really planned out what I want to say at the funeral. I know they're going to go on and on about how the Lord giveth and the Lord taketh away, and that's fine. I also know that they're going to say, we must not mourn your life, but instead celebrate it. Believe me, I want to shout how much I loved you from the rooftops, but right now I just want to be alone with my thoughts. I feel physically sick about this. That's probably natural, I guess. As the tears escape me, the only thing I can think of is how compelled I am to run and get away from here. Run and never look back. Maybe I'm selfish. Unfortunately, to do that would likely be the undoing of my parents. Sophie and I were the only children they ever had. Besides this farm, they've got nothing. Sophie, I know I'm going to beat a dead horse in saying this, and I apologize in advance for the carelessness of my word choosing, but please forgive me. If you're up there singing with the angels, show me a sign that you hear me, and that everything's okay where you are. Mom and Dad keep telling me not to beat myself up over it, but I can't help the way that I feel. There's no way that I'm not partially responsible for your passing, and I'll swear that until my dying day, which might be soon if I can't get past this. I keep feeling the urge to run to the bathroom and get sick, and nothing I do calms my stomach. I'm losing my mind over this. Please, God, give me strength to write something for Sophie's funeral. Anything. Another second in this house, and I surely would have exploded. I ran as fast as my legs would carry me, out through the rows of rotting vegetation and overgrown weeds. I convinced myself that I wasn't running away, but simply getting away for a few hours. The note on my desk in an otherwise dark and empty bedroom would loosely detail my whereabouts in case anyone cared to find me. But I hoped that no one would. If there was anything I needed, it was to be alone by myself, far from the horror that just days had fallen onto Sophie's shoulders. Once my legs became tired, I stopped briefly in a clearing where an old oak tree firmly stood. A smile swept my face as I beheld a large heart carved into it. Benji and Lola, it proudly announced. There was no sign of a date anywhere on the tree, but my curiosity was piqued. I wondered who they were and how they met, and if they ever got married to stay together. With a shrug, I slowly shook my head. They probably didn't last. Nothing much lasts anyway, not anymore. It got me to thinking. Benjamin was a fairly common name, but Lola's wasn't. Maybe if I went down to the local library and did a little research, I could get inspired to write a comforting piece in memory of Sophie for the funeral. After all, it was only 3 days away. It was possible that my parents would have information regarding the tree, and perhaps that would be a good start. However, the peace and quiet of the great outdoors was something I hadn't felt since the car accident. I closed my eyes and knelt at the old oak, clasping my hands together and thanking God I had the opportunity to celebrate Sophie's life with something I would be writing soon. I prayed that I would be granted the wisdom to become ignited and pour out every single thing that I'm feeling. She loved to sing. Maybe I could write her a song, too. Granted, I'm far from being a great singer and nowhere near a grade A songwriter, but if I put my all into it, at least it'll be something that I'm proud of. Unfortunately, I don't play the piano or any other instrument, but I could probably sing the written work without music. That would be okay. Oh, who am I kidding? There's nothing I could write that would pay honor and tribute to Sophie. My parents are devastated. Not that I expect them not to be, but they're cold, numb, and listless. We don't even talk at the breakfast table anymore, and forget about dinner conversation. It's like, as a family, we became completely disconnected, not just from the world, but from each other. It's bizarre how everything is great one day and dismally dark the next. When I would walk past her bedroom door in the morning, she'd greet me and we would walk to the bus stop together. Now I'll be walking alone. The thing that kills me the most is her funeral is going to be held on Saturday. I'm not even missing a day of school to mourn Sophie's death. However, there's no time to complain about petty things like time. We will all die, and we will all be judged for where life's travel has taken us. I'm convinced that I will pay dearly for not being my sister's keeper that fateful day, but if I am able and willing to inspire people to love and cherish their families before I die, then hopefully my words will speak volumes to those with hardened hearts, those that don't tell their mothers, daughters, sisters, and brothers how much they are loved. A warm breeze sailed through the clearing, and for a brief moment I felt as though my spirit was calmed. My right hand palmed the old oak, and I knew in an instant that this would become my sacred sanctuary. Maybe it was Sophie's spirit trying to tell me that she's okay with where she is. If I could just be assured that she was at peace, I could concentrate on the task at hand and at least scribble down some words in my legal pad. Suddenly, a blinding flash of lightning across the street hit a tree, showering sparks onto a neighbor's lawn as it engulfed it in flame. Clutching the legal pad, I pocketed my pen and ran across the empty street to assist an elderly woman that stood frightened at her front door. "My lawn!" she shouted loudly. I assured her that I would get it under control and grabbed her garden hose from the porch, running to the side of her home to secure it to a spigot. Sick with worry that the tree would engulf the woman's dried-out lawn in moments, she returned to the house and called the fire department. I licked my lips and cranked the valve to full pressure and held down the trigger on the sprayer, sure to capture not only the point of contact, but also the surrounding areas. The fire licked the tree and remained vigilant in its efforts to destroy everything in its path, but I wasn't having it. Eyes forward, back arched, I laid into that fire like an abusive fire into an errant child, vanquishing every ember until not even smoke rose from the ashes. The elderly woman never returned from the house, but to keep her safe, I disconnected the sprayer and laid a sprinkler out near the tree. There was no desire to get a thank you from the woman, and I didn't expect one in return, but I think God was smiling down on me the night that tree caught fire. I know, because my soul caught fire too. The inevitable day would soon come where I had to bury my twin sister. Before throwing my feet over the side of the bed, I put my hands together and prayed for strength to make it through the day. I knew that the day was not going to be an easy one to get through. What pained my soul was the fact that Sophie had an open casket. Did I want to see her a final time? Yes, of course, but not like this. This was not the way I wanted to remember her. What made it easier was the fact that I was able to piece together the music she would be laid to rest with. I carefully picked out the types of songs that would showcase what she meant to me, not only as a sister, but as a best friend. When Brett's Lost Without Your Love came on, I ran into the coat room and sobbed like a baby for a good 20 minutes. My tears exploded like fireworks onto the legal pad as I tried my best to compose myself, but simply could not do it. I was a complete wreck, and I didn't even care who saw. It felt good to finally pop the cork on all this bottled-up emotion that was kept trapped within me. How was it that I mentally prepared myself to pull everything together, to make it a day to celebrate the life of my beautiful twin sister, and yet emotionally, I can't even bring myself to look at her face? I caressed a vein on my left wrist and thought the unthinkable. How easily could I do it and get away from this place? To join up with my best friend and twin sister, Sophie Annabella. She misses me. She's got to. Why am I so sick to my stomach with the thought of taking my life to escape this torture? Is there a higher calling for my pitiful life? Is there somehow, somewhere, some stupid place my life is going to take me that proves to me that suicide was the wrong option? There was no doubt in my mind that I wanted to go out with a bang the night I was slated to bury Sophie. Of course, that would be easier said than done, and upon thinking and giving such a thought my 2 thumbs up, a beautiful girl my age walked into the room with an elderly woman. As luck would have it, this would be the same woman whose tree I saved from the imminent demise of a lightning bolt. "Well, there you are," the older woman said softly, slowly shuffling over to me. "Looked everywhere for you but the men's room." With a whisper and a chuckle, she added, "Unfortunately, that was the next stop." It briefly brought a smile to my face, but the words were not enough to keep me from grieving to my heart's content. I maintained little to no expression at all and made a conscious effort to eliminate all body language. "You must be Channing," she continued with a sweep of her hand, as though she had the strength to lift me to my feet. My lips were pursed, but I did not want to be rude. "Yes," I politely replied, putting my closed fists onto the floor to steady myself into a standing position. "I never thanked you for saving that tree and my lawn, so thank you," she told me, beaming as though I had saved a barn full of livestock from certain doom. "It's nothing, really," I replied with a shrug. "Don't be silly," she retorted. "You did a good thing. So many kids your age these days are more likely to throw things and break windows than to save some old lady's stupid tree." I nodded and maintained eye contact, even attempting to smile. "I do apologize for the timing of this true first impression, Channing. I can only offer you my sincerest condolences on what can only be a terrible chapter in your family's life." The desire to smile waned, but I pursed my lips and nodded again, trying my hardest to be polite. She went on, "You must forgive me. This is my granddaughter, Aubrey. Say something, sweetheart." The pretty girl smiled and shrugged, saying nothing. "She doesn't have to say anything, Mrs. Kendall. It's okay. I'd better get back out there and rehearse what I have to say. Thanks for coming." And with that, I left the coat room. The large crowd was gathered, and the pews were filled with family, friends, and distant relatives. As I gazed upon them, the words spilled from my mouth as though I was fulfilling some kind of ancient prophecy. "Hello, and thank you all for coming to Sophie's wake." Upon her passing, I racked my brain in terms of thinking about exactly what I wanted to say in her honor today. With a big yellow pad of college roll paper, I was certain that the words would not only make sense, but that they would flow from it effortlessly and flawlessly. In looking around the room and studying your faces, some of you never lived close enough to enjoy the life of my twin sister, Sophie. A handful of you didn't know her, but came because you felt compelled to. Many of you came because you not only knew her very well, but you are here to celebrate her life. A remote control was passed to me from my father, who, with a single tear running down his face, permitted me to continue on with the carefully chosen words I would use. Upon a soft pressing of the play button, a projected image of baby Sophie was displayed on the large screen above me. "This is my sister, Sophie Annabella Kroll. We've been together since before we were even born. We shared the kind of bond that brothers and sisters rarely get the opportunity to share." I clicked the forward button, which brought a hushed moan from the crowd. "Here we are at Christmas. We're about 3 years old in this one. She insisted I open my presents first, but I wouldn't do it. Mom and Dad had to open them for us, or they would have never seen the light of day." A slight collective chuckle falls over the crowd, which did me good to hear. "Listen, folks," I said. "I'm not going to tell you not to grieve. You owe it to Sophie to grieve. But on the other hand, you owe it to her to say, you know what? I'm not going to dwell on her death. Why do that when I would much rather celebrate the time I spent watching her live?" I didn't have a lot written down, and I didn't want to preach to you from up here. One thing I will say, and also close with, is that the words that fail me right now will be known by each and every one of you that look at my beautiful sister Sophie as she rests peacefully in her casket. Thank you all for coming. May God bless and keep every one of you. The reception would be held in the basement of the church before the burial took place. I briskly walked downstairs to ask if help was needed with setting out of any food, and was surprised to see that everything was already in place. People began filing out of the pews and started walking downstairs to eat. I smiled and waved as everyone stood in line with their plates and cutlery and received a tap on my shoulder. It was Aubrey. "Nice speech," she said. "Thank you," I told her. "You know, if you're not doing anything later, maybe we could hang out," she says. "We could do that. Are you coming to the funeral?" I asked. "It would be rude to eat food in her memory and not stick around for the burial," she explained. "That it would, but I do think so." I'm not the best with words, Channing, and I'm sorry if my first impression was less than impressive. Forget about it. I'm not the greatest with words either, I told her. She cocked her head to the side. "You can't lie to me. You were really great up there. I would have crumbled under the pressure." I shook my head, politely refuting the very thought. "No, you wouldn't have. Not if you would have known her. Just by what you said up there shows that you loved her very much. She was lucky to have a brother like you." With a nod, I replied I was glad she thought so. Aubrey would rejoin her grandmother for now, leaving me the opportunity to have a one-sided chat with my sister Sophie. After sharply inhaling and stepping up to her casket, I was sure that I was all cried out. Unfortunately, once I saw her face, it was hard to keep it all together. "Hey, sis," I managed, goosebumps on my skin dotting my flesh instantly. I turned from her as I struggled to view her body. "Why is this so hard for me? I can talk about life with you in front of a church full of people, but I don't have the guts to look you in the eye or even say I'm sorry. I don't even want to say goodbye, Sophie, but I know I'm going to regret it if I don't see your face one more time." Slowly I turned, and Aubrey was in front of the casket, tears running down her face. I wiped my eyes quickly and licked my lips as we made eye contact. "You okay? You were shaking," she told me. "I'm not. I'm really not. I wish I could tell you I'm okay, but that would make me the biggest liar," I said, the tears welling in my eyes yet again. "Let's do this, Channing. Look at me." As I maintained eye contact, Aubrey took my hands and placed them on Sophie's. The tears raced down my cheeks as fast as they could go. I trembled as my hands touched the ice-cold skin of my sister's folded hands. Aubrey placed her hands over mine and smiled at me. "Talk to her. You're not going to get the chance to do this again. Not like this." Smiling weakly, I told Sophie how much she was going to be missed and how sorry I was for not doing more to save her. Under Aubrey's direction, with all of our hands still clasped, we prayed that the magic of Sophie's life would grow in the lives of everyone she touched, so that she would never be forgotten. To be honest, I didn't think much about it during Sophie's burial or even after it. But once I got home, something felt different in my spirit. It was almost as though the remaining energy in Sophie's body channeled into mine. Perhaps it was foolish to think so, but it gave me peace to accept it as gospel. I was writing in my bedroom when Aubrey came to my door. "You didn't forget about me, did you?" she asked, half smiling. "No," I told her. "I feel kind of weird," she admitted, closing my door behind her. "Same here," I replied. "Listen, I wanted to apologize. I've been second-guessing myself, and I was pushy with the prayer thing, and—" "No," I interrupted, "not at all. I think you helped me remember her better. A good memory, for sure. Don't sweat it." She shrugged, and I took her hand into mine. "You're too hard on yourself. I promise you. It's okay." With pursed lips, she nodded and asked me if I wanted to be trapped in my bedroom all day. "No," I told her. "I'd like to go to my special place to sit and think." "May I come with you?" Aubrey asked. "I think I would like that. Come on, I'll show you." And away we would go, to the old oak in the clearing, or as I like to call it, my sacred sanctuary. Once we made it through the decayed tomato fields, we hit the clearing. My heart sank as I beheld the tree, which was rife with fire damage. My hands caressed the charred bark as I wondered how it could have happened. "Is that new?" Aubrey asked, breaking black bark from the tree just by touching it. "Must be," I said, examining what remained. "Ouch! You okay?" she asked, quickly grabbing my hand to inspect it. "Yeah, I think so. It's still hot. It's smoldering." Aubrey shrugged. "Must have run from the other night when you ran over to my grandma's house to help." "No," I firmly told her. "I was here this morning, sitting right there working on the piece for Sophie." "You think somebody did it intentionally?" she asked. "Hard to say. It does look like it was struck by lightning, but when we looked at the forecast, there was no mention of a storm passing through. We wanted to make sure her burial was a pleasant one, at least weather-wise. Seems like in the movies it's always raining or something. At least we had a clear day for the funeral." The feeling that I felt earlier when Aubrey put my hands on Sophie's was coming over me again. I looked into Aubrey's eyes and she said it before I could utter one word. "Do you feel that?" Solemnly I nodded as the hairs in the back of my neck stood on end. "Maybe I should go," Aubrey said, speaking in a whisper before she turned to leave. "What's going on here?" I asked, reaching out to take her hand but missing it completely. She bolted and I took off after her, almost losing one of my shoes in the process as I tripped along the way. My right hand gripped the back bottom of her shirt and she surrendered. "Please tell me you didn't set fire to the tree, Aubrey, please." Aubrey raised her chin to look up at me. "I'm going to be honest with you, Channing. I was hopeful, but not yet satisfied with the conversation thus far." "Good, I want you to be. You don't understand, and you're new here, so you're bound to pick up on a lot of things." "Things like what?" I asked. "Can we go back to the tree?" she inquired. "I won't run unless you want me to leave." "I would love to go back to the tree, but won't you answer the question?" She shook her head and swore she was no arsonist. "Then what's the big deal?" I begged, truly wanting to know. "At school, people think I'm a witch. There, you happy?" The shock of hearing something so damning from Aubrey's own lips was an incredible admission. It had so much weight to it rolling from behind her teeth that I had to pretend I wasn't livid. This was a feat in and of itself. "So, wait a second. Hold on. You're a witch? Was the whole prayer thing with Sophie some kind of joke to you?" She was one of the only people that I ever trusted and truly care about. To think that you would be so callous as to... Aubrey stopped me right there. Listen to me. I don't go around casting spells, and I don't pretend to heal people or play tricks on people with my mind. I don't. On the flip side, I do see that which ordinary people do not see. All right, then, where's your crystal ball? I'm assuming you don't tell me the day I'm going to die unless I pay you $500. She scoffed and became impatient with me. I told you, it's not like that. There's no crystal ball, no magic powers, no palm readings. People think I'm a witch because of the things that happen after I take part in something. I tried to make sense of it. Let me get this straight. The prayer thing with Sophie was innocent, and the weird vibe that accompanied it was simply because it was a strange thing to do. So explain the tree. You didn't cast a fireball spell on it? Aubrey narrowed her eyes at the thought. I'm glad you think this is funny. I shrugged. I'm being serious. I mean, come on, this is a bit much. Look, she began, I'm a loner for a reason. I don't fit in anywhere. I find it nice that I ruin everything I touch. I just wish you could believe me when I say, I'm no witch. I gazed deep within the confines of her beautiful green eyes and struggled to find any sign of witchery inside them. Give me your hands, Channing, she calmly told me as I kept looking into her eyes. Our lips met as we tasted our first kiss under the pale moonlight of my sacred sanctuary. It was incredible. She slowly pulled away from me, knowing full well she had my complete attention. Can I tell you why I ran? I had closed my eyes for the kiss and kept them sealed as I answered, please. When the three of us joined, we became one for a moment, she began. Do you remember how I worded the prayer? Sadly, I did not remember them exactly and told her no. Channing, we prayed that the magic found in Sophie's life would grow in the lives of everyone she touched, so that she would never be forgotten. It leads me to believe that this tree catching on fire was no mere accident. My eyes opened. It was all very plausible. Strange, absolutely, but somehow making a bit of sense. There were no puddles of water, and the grass that surrounded the clearing showed no signs of dampness whatsoever. This random tree fire should have frightened me, but it really didn't. Are you saying that when we did the prayer thing with Sophie, your words may have caused this to happen? I'm not really sure, she said. I've never felt the way I did after that prayer or entering this clearing with you. There's something very, I don't know, I can't put my finger on it. Of all the trees, though, Aubrey, why this one? Maybe there's something special about it, something magical. Did you ever take your sister out here? Biting my lip, I explained that Sophie was the one that had discovered it. Never even had the chance to know her, Aubrey said, her eyes scanning the tree damage. You missed out, I replied, my eyes at the base of the tree. I take it she wasn't a girly girl. I asked, facing her. You talked about going down to the creek and catching crayfish. Sounds like more of a tomboy. One of the guys, yep, you're right about that. She wasn't afraid of getting muddy, that's for sure. I'll bet your mom loved washing dirty dresses all the time, she teased. No dresses, I told her. Blue jeans. She snickered. Of course, my mistake. The memories of splashing in the water where Sophie and I would play in the river made me smile. But suddenly, something came to me. Your name is Aubrey, right? Yeah, she replied, cocking her head as though she knew my next set of words might strike her as a little out of the ordinary. Not that common of a name, I went on. Right, she replied. Whoever got to name you is probably familiar with the music group Bread, I'm assuming, right? She laughed and nodded. My parents were hippies back in the 70s, and my dad was a huge David Gates fan. Interesting, I told her. You know what's weird? No, what? Aubrey asked. The words that you said when we prayed, I began. Yeah, Channing, we just went over that, remember? Hear me out, I explained. You made a mention that the magic in her life would grow in everyone she touched. Like the tree here, I get it, she said, confused by what I was going after. Not just the tree. You, I quickly shot back, pointing at her. I never knew her, though, Aubrey cried out as though she needed to defend herself. No, you didn't. But you physically touched her, and even if you didn't, you did through me. We were all connected at the casket during Sophie's wake. She stood there, her eyes unblinking as it all soaked in. But, of course, none of this matters since you're not a witch, I said casually. Channing, this is what I'm talking about, the whole concept of seeing beyond the average person. The reality that these types of things aren't just coincidental happenings. Me being a witch has nothing to do with what we have witnessed here. We shared a bond and are seeing immediate results from it. Immediate? I asked. The fire on this tree, caused most likely by lightning, had to have happened during the prayer that took place between the three of us. Maybe there was energy left over and that's what caused this damage. I chuckled as her words started to sound a little hokey. Something funny, she asked? Look, sweetheart, I'm all for a late night infomercial, but this black arts crap is a little hard to swallow. I thought you said So you were going to have an open mind, Aubrey said, crossing her arms. I do have an open mind on this. You have to realize, I just buried my sister today. Can't we take this a little bit slower and take the time to actually digest it? Aubrey shrugged and then nodded. Yeah, we can. Just do me one favor and don't make fun of what I believe in, okay? That's all I ask. She made me promise to take her more seriously. I had no idea that I would fall so fast for her. I should never have mentioned anything about being a witch. So stupid of me. Aubrey scoffed as she turned to head home. It was thanks to me. I'm the stupid one. Let's forget about it, I said, extending out an arm for her to take. You're really cute, and you actually have a personality, she said softly. Likewise, I guess, I said with a smirk. Do you have to head home? To do what? Chanting on my own person. I live with my grandma, remember? I don't exactly have a curfew or anything. You live with her? I said, trying to understand. My parents are dead, okay? Do you want me to elaborate? I felt embarrassed and promptly shook my head. No, I apologized. Good. Then why don't you go in the house and get changed? We can meet up at the river in about 10 minutes. I would like that, I replied. She put her hand on my shoulder. I was hoping so. See you in a few. We would meet near the bridge where our road dead ended. Of course, I was there first, with a tank top and blue jean shorts. It was just about 8 at night, still not dark yet. Aubrey came back wearing blue jeans and a long-sleeved sweater on. I snickered under my breath, knowing she had to be playing some kind of trick on me. After all, it was still quite warm outside, and I was under the impression that she wanted to catch crayfish with me, like Sophie and I used to do. Once she made her way over to me, I teasingly told her to show off her bikini body. With a scoff and an eye roll, she looked behind her back for a moment, and that's when I grabbed a sleeve and pulled it back. She was horrified, and so was I. My eyes beheld dozens of what could only be cut marks made with razor blades. I wasn't satisfied, though. I needed to know if this was some kind of itch she may have been scratching. I pulled down the sleeve of her other arm and saw dozens more. She scrambled away from me, but I took hold of her and looked into her eyes. You can't run forever, Aubrey. Tears spilled from her eyes as she looked down at the asphalt beneath her feet. I can try. Everyone thinks I'm a witch. Nobody wants me. Do you realize how long I've wanted to die? I shushed her, but it took some doing. Listen to me, Aubrey, and quit trying to get away. Stop, I mean it. She quit attempting to get away, and I nudged her chin with my forefingers to achieve eye contact. First of all, my name is not Nobody. I also don't think you're a witch, so you're wrong on the everyone front. I don't know how long you've wanted to die, but I'll tell you that I was ready to die after I buried my sister. Aubrey shook her head as the tears continued. I just never feel like I'm good enough for anybody. I pushed my hands behind her ears and through her beautiful long black hair as I kissed her on the tip of her nose. You're good enough for me. Do you think we can make it? You have faith that we could work it out? Aubrey asked, looking into my eyes. I held her close to me and kissed her. I told you that I thought you were cute. I was mistaken. You're beautiful, inside and out. You have a magical personality that makes me want no one but you. You're not just saying those things to make me feel better? She inquired, breaking away to read my facial expressions. Aubrey, when I say something, I mean it. When I told you that I loved my sister, every word was true. I'm not asking you to buy anything I'm selling. If there's any reason to believe I fed you lies, then by all means go. No, your chest is warm, she said, and I like being in your arms. I rolled her sleeves back onto her wrists and walked her back to the old oak where we talked for a while. Maybe this is my chance, she started. For what? I asked. You might have been right about what you said about the dispersal of your sister's energy. Maybe I'll gain some of it. Maybe you will, maybe you won't, I said, massaging her upper back. But what if by channeling her energy, everything you loved about your sister, you could love about me? With a frown, I turned her around and faced me. Aubrey, I'm falling head over heels with you. Let me love you for being you. I'm sorry, she confessed. It's just that all my life I've felt like such a burden, an inconvenience. I don't know a good thing when I see it, not even when it's right in front of me. The only thing that reminds me I'm even alive is when I see blood when I cut. Look, you're not a burden to me. You're amazing and you're smart. I would have been kicking myself here at the house if I hadn't given Sophie a proper goodbye. You allowed me to do that. I told you, you're too hard on yourself. Tell you what, Channing, there was a drawing that I entered my dad into. The grand prize was a trip for two to see the Grand Canyon. He won and took my mom. See, you did something nice, I said, trying to ease the conversation into something a little less depressing. Oh yeah, trust me, they saw the Grand Canyon, the bottom of it at least. What? I asked, stunned. Oh yeah. They had just gotten on the plane and were on their way back home. There was some kind of mechanical